during a heated city council meeting last night, the mayor dressed down Eazy-E for ruining the city's image.
Eazy-E will still remain Eazy-E, but we're not going to portray Compton as a bad city, because Compton is a good city.
The rap music promotes, by its very language and by its very actions, promote violence against authority.
We don't make nobody go out and do this. I mean, if we wouldn't have did the record, it still would happen.
It seemed like Dre tried to make himself seem like the man. You know, he turned himself into a gangster. And everybody know that's not Dre's character. Eazy wasn't the type of dude you can just say anything to, talk to any kind of way. So the fact that they made him look more docile than he was, I didn't like it. I don't get like why they put that in the movie. So to me, it seemed like they was trying to skew his legacy.
Eazy-E might just be one of the most disrespected and misunderstood figures in hip-hop history. While he was alive, people twisted his image, but after he died, it got even worse. There's no doubt Eazy was a gangster. He was affiliated with some serious people, but according to those who really knew him, he wasn't the exaggerated version the media and Hollywood painted him to be.
More laid back than people really would know. You see him with the glasses and the little hat, you know, that's one way. When it's not business, he was the person behind his kid.
For instance, the way Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and others bent the truth about him, especially in the movie Straight Outta Compton, helped spread myths and straight-up lies about who he really was.
I don't get like why they put that in the movie. So to me, it seemed like they was trying to skew his legacy.
Back in the day, the media loved to push the narrative that Eazy was some out-of-control gun-toting menace. He was labeled as dangerous, not just as a rapper, but as a person. For example, when he tried to shoot the music video for Real Compton G's, the Compton mayor shut it down because he didn't like the script. The mayor blamed Eazy for ruining the city's image and fueling violence. It took hours of back-and-forth negotiations before they could even get a deal done.
Rap star Eazy-E will be able to film portions of a new music video in Compton after all. But during a heated city council meeting last night, the mayor dressed down Eazy-E for ruining the city's image.
Bradley did not like the script he read for a music video Eazy-E wanted to shoot in Compton. So the two sides met for 9 hours and ironed out a deal.
The media made Eazy the face of gang violence, putting the blame for rising crime rates on gangster rap. They painted him as the problem, even though he was just rapping about what was already happening in the streets.
The rap music promotes, by its very language and by its very actions, promotes violence against authority.
We don't make nobody go out and do this. I mean, if we wouldn't have did the record, it still would happen.
And then there was the time he got straight up disrespected on live TV about having multiple kids. They tried to clown him, but Eazy kept his cool the whole time.
How many children you got, Eric?
5.
You have 5 children?
Yeah.
Seriously? You have 5 kids?
And
no,
you and
you
your
don't.
wife are, where do you live now?
Yeah, where's your wife?
I'm not married.
You're not married? What the hell is going on here? Different women.
Do you pay?
And how often do you see your kids?
All the time.
Do you pay for them?
Of course.
Oh, well, that's take it easy, Chief Gates.
That's something.
You're with NWAP, you're with active I'll tell you that.
But if you ask his family and real friends, they'll tell you a different story. To them, Eazy was a great father. He loved all his kids equally.
There was a lot of kids, but he loved every one of them.
Kids and treated all of them the same way. Good, real good. And tried to do the best that he could to provide properly for him.
His son, Lil Eazy, has spoken about how his dad was funny, playful, and always full of life. Whenever Eazy was around, it was all love, all good vibes.
What was Eric like? Eric Wright. Thanksgiving, you know what I'm saying, Christmas is exactly what you said. It was just joy. Well, we gonna continue laughing. We gonna continue laughing. I mean, he used to play so many jokes.
Even his wife, who a lot of people dislike, especially because of the way she allegedly handled Eazy's estate after his death, has spoken highly of him.
Just based off an image, I thought he would be kind of disrespectful and not really have too much to talk about, and that we wouldn't have anything in common. And I was impressed in terms of he did have stuff to talk about. He was more soft-spoken.
But the worst part is how his own NWA crew, the people who should have known him best, turned on him after he died. Instead of honoring him, they helped push a false narrative, with Dr. Dre and Ice Cube leading the way. This slant might have something to do with the fact that the story was mostly shaped by Dr. Dre and Ice Cube. And if you know your stuff, you'll remember that Dr. Dre and Eazy-E didn't exactly get along. In fact, their beef was one of the main reasons behind the infamous Ruthless Records versus Death Row feud. In Dre's version of events, the late Eazy-E is painted as either a bitter, foul-mouthed troublemaker, a naive pushover, or a small-time hustler hiding behind ghostwriters while backstabbing friends. But those who were closest to Eazy tell a completely different story. They remember him as a complex, kind-hearted man, not the one-dimensional villain we often see, and definitely someone you wouldn't want to underestimate.
This is an achievement for all the inner city kids to be here?
Yeah, I think so.
Also, one of the most criticized parts of the movie is how it portrays Dr. Dre as this almost superhero-like figure in rap, which doesn't quite add up.
It seemed like Dre tried to make himself seem like the man. You know, he turned himself into a gangster. And everybody know that's not Dre's character. Eazy wasn't the type of dude you can just say anything to, talk to any kind of way. So the fact that they made him look more docile than he was, I didn't like it.
Are you still friends with your group?
A couple of them. Ice Cube, MC Ren, and Yella.
Okay, what about the other one?
Who? Dr. Dre? Yeah. G stuff come from the concrete, and that's the streets, which he was never from the streets. Only reason why people affiliate him with the streets is through me.
A lot of people pointed out that Dre's darker side, like his history of violence toward women, was conveniently left out of the film.
They grabbed me by my hair and started slamming me up against the wall. It's a painful and traumatic experience.
One of the most talked about moments in Straight Outta Compton is how it portrayed Eazy House, DE's final days. In the movie, there's a dramatic scene where Eazy breaks down in tears after being diagnosed with HIV, but those who were close to him have called this out as a complete exaggeration.
What do you mean, comfortable?
Members of Bone Thugs and Harmony, who were with Eazy until the very end, said that wasn't how it went down at all. According to them, Eazy never wallowed in despair or let his diagnosis crush his spirit. Instead, he stayed true to himself, handling the situation with strength and determination, even in his final days.
No, it was not true to the story.
Okay.
Here's why it was not true to the story. That last 2 years of his life, Eazy-E was smoking hot. Even though he was sick, he was happy as hell. He had Bone Thugs and Harmony.
I don't like how it was portrayed that Eazy-E was like broke and like stressing, like when he died, because like we didn't get that from him at all. Eazy was riding on the high because he knew he had us, and he knew we was about to ride. We was about to bring him back.
Now, let's be real. Of course, Eazy was sad about his condition. He was young, successful, and had so much to live for. Anyone in his position would feel some level of sadness, but the overly emotional portrayal in the movie didn't match what people close to him actually witnessed. It seemed like the filmmakers took some creative liberties to make the scene more dramatic and impactful for the audience, but in doing so, they painted a picture that didn't align with reality. Another glaring issue in the movie was the claim that Eazy was broke during his later years. The film shows him supposedly downgrading his lifestyle, moving into a smaller house, and struggling financially. But according to people like BG Knockout, this couldn't be further from the truth.
The fact that they tried to make him look like he was broke, he bought weed and all this, he was finna start slanging, all that was bullshit.
In fact, Eazy was anything but broke. His company, Ruthless Records, was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He had a thriving bank account, the #1 group and album in the country, and multiple properties, not some downsized single house as the movie suggests.
His company was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. His bank account was still flooded. He had Bone, he had the #1 group, you know what I'm saying? The #1 album, like, he had multiple houses, man. Like, Eazy, his one house, I promise you, like, if you were to walk in his house, you would feel some type of way how beautiful that motherfucker was.
To put it in perspective, Eazy was worth about $50 million at the time of his passing, with Ruthless Records valued at $30 million. He had a collection of assets. These included several homes spread across high-end areas like Norwalk, Topanga, Westlake, Calabasas, and Woodland Hills. His Woodland Hills property was especially luxurious, perched on a hill with stunning views and tucked away from the noise of city life. Eazy wasn't just about the money though. He was also a dedicated father who spared no expense for his kids. He reportedly spent over $20,000 a year per child on private Christian Montessori schooling and more than $50,000 a month on child support. On top of that, he went all out for birthdays, designer clothes, jewelry, and the latest toys. According to his son Eric Jr., they even spent quality time together playing Sonic the Hedgehog. Beyond being a father and a rapper, Eazy was a businessman with an eye for opportunity. He was involved in several ventures, from creating a comic book series called The Hood with Rob Liefeld, co-creator of Deadpool, to developing speakers called Eazy-E's Bass Shakers. He also had plans for a video game, a screenplay titled Smiling Faces, and even opening a film studio. In 1994, he started the Ruthless radio show on K-Day's 92.3 The Beat, which quickly became a hit, topping its time slot. According to FBI files, Ruthless Records was making over $10 million a month in revenue around the time of Eazy's death in 1995. The label became the first independent record company to outsell major ones. Even after his passing, Eazy's legacy lived on. His widow still owns NWA's catalog, and royalty checks from old Ruthless artists continue to flow into his estate. With the rise of streaming services, Eazy's music and business ventures will likely keep generating revenue for generations. So portraying Eazy as broke in the movie? That just doesn't add up. BG Knockout believes the portrayal was intentional, a way for Dr. Dre and others involved to skew Eazy's legacy.
I don't get like why they put that in the movie. So to me, it seemed like they was trying to skew his legacy.
Another side of Eazy-E that Straight Outta Compton completely ignored was his selfless and giving nature. People who knew him always talk about how he had a big heart and a soft spot for anyone society overlooked or forgot about. Whether it was small acts of kindness or grand gestures, Eazy showed his empathy time and time again. For instance, in his own neighborhood, Eazy would do things like buy ice cream for the kids in Compton or spend hours skateboarding with the younger kids in Calabasas. But it wasn't just about the small stuff. He went all out when it came to helping others. During the holidays, Eazy would dress up as Santa Claus to hand out gifts and make sure families in need had turkeys for Thanksgiving. He didn't stop there. He'd take the children of his employees on Disney trips and even spent over $600 on merchandise to make those moments extra special. He was always trying to expose kids to opportunities they might not otherwise get. He sponsored rodeo events to introduce inner-city youth to new cultural experiences and spent time talking to incarcerated teens, encouraging them to turn their lives around.
Think this is an achievement for all the inner city kids to be here?
Yeah, I think so.
And it wasn't just his time he gave. Eazy also donated a significant amount of money to causes he believed in. He supported charities like City of Hope Memorial Hospital, participated in the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and was involved with athletes and entertainers for kids. His generosity even earned him an invitation to a 2-day conference and fundraising event hosted by President George H.W. Bush in 1991. But one story really shows the kind of person Eazy was. Payne, a member of the group Above the Law, shared how Eazy saved his kids' lives. Payne's twins were born prematurely and needed an expensive operation to survive. Eazy canceled an important business meeting, drove all the way from Calabasas to Fontana, and handed over $30,000 to cover the medical bills. "I honor that brother to this day," Kane said.
Before my kids was born, they were born prematurely, twins. They was about to be born, they needed to be born in 7 months. So they needed a major operation. Eric had an important meeting to go to, a deal breaker meeting. Eric Wright canceled his meeting, drove up to Fontana, California. You understand? And cashed them people out $30,000 cash here.
For so many people, Eazy wasn't just a boss or a business partner. He was a mentor, a protector, and a friend. He had a way of seeing the potential in people that they couldn't see in themselves. He encouraged them to aim higher and be better than they ever thought possible. But the movie didn't show this side of him at all. Instead, it painted Eazy as a pushover, which couldn't be further from the truth. One of the most ridiculous moments in Straight Outta Compton is the scene where Suge Knight supposedly intimidates Eazy into signing over Dr. Dre's contract to Death Row Records. In the movie, Suge is shown slapping Eazy around and bullying him into giving up Dre. But anyone who really knew Eazy knew this portrayal was pure fiction. Eazy wasn't the kind of guy you could just push around. He had deep connections with some of the most serious figures out there, including the Crips and the Mexican Mafia. Eazy was also heavily tied to the Southside Crips, who were a major force in Compton. One of his key connections was with Keef D, a well-known figure in the Compton gang scene. Keef D's family even owned Compton Hydraulics, a car shop on Long Beach Boulevard in Compton. This wasn't just a place for car repairs, it was a hub where street culture, music, and business overlapped. Eazy grew up right in the middle of Southside Crip territory in the Kelly Park Compton Crip neighborhood. His close ties to Keef D's brother Kevin made him part of that circle in a way that went beyond music. In 1993, when Eazy filmed the video for his iconic diss track Real Motherf***ing G's, he wasn't just throwing subliminal shots, he was making a statement. The video is packed with imagery that ties Eazy to the Southside Crips. One standout car, known as the Gangster of Love, was said to belong to either a prominent Southside Crip named Big Spank or someone from Keef D's family. The people featured in the video weren't just extras, they were part of Eazy's world, some of them throwing up Southside Crip signs, rocking Seattle Mariners hats, a known Crip emblem with the S for Southside, and decked out in blue, the gang's color. Eazy himself sported a blue Mariners cap with a yellow S, cementing his affiliation in plain view. Adding to this mix was BG Knockout. BG Knockout and the crew backing Eazy were fiercely loyal, making it clear that Eazy wasn't someone you could mess with lightly. Both BG Knockout and Keef D have dismissed the idea of Suge ever laying a hand on Eazy.
Eazy getting beat up by Suge
you know.
and his people.
You don't want that problem.
Well, I
wouldn't want that problem.
For them, the slap story is pure fiction. After all, Suge Knight would have been risking a war with the Southside Crips, and that's not a gamble anyone would want to take.
I watched that movie and stuff like that. I don't think it's true because Eazy-E had the whole Alondra behind him.
Eazy also had connections to the Mexicans, and years later, he would go on to cement that connection in a big way when he signed Brownside, were a Chicano rap group led by the late Toker, as well as another groundbreaking Mexican rapper, Kid Frost. At a time when Latino rap wasn't taken seriously in the mainstream, Eazy-E saw something others didn't. He was ahead of his time, and foresaw that the Chicano rap movement was going to be a force to reckon with.
He signed the Brownside, and then he ended up signing Kid Frost, and we ended up working on the Brownside record. You know what I mean? And you know, that was his thing. He had that mind state about it because he knew that was coming. Like I said, the guy was ahead of his time.
Brownside, in particular, was something special. Under Eazy's guidance, they became pioneers of Chicano rap, laying down the blueprint for how the genre would sound and feel. But Brownside wasn't just another rap group trying to capitalize on a trend. These guys were real gangsters, straight out of the streets with stories to tell. Everything they rapped about was authentic. There were no exaggerations, no clout-chasing antics, just raw, real-life experiences that reflected who they were.
And I'm straight gang related.
One of the most legendary stories about Brownside's loyalty to Eazy comes from the height of the infamous Ruthless Records versus Death Row Records beef. The war between Eazy-E and Suge Knight was no joke. Death Row was known for being aggressive, and Suge Knight's reputation for intimidation was well-earned. But as Toker later explained, Brownside played a huge role in keeping Eazy safe during this time. According to Toker, he and the Brownside crew showed up at Ruthless Records right when things started getting heated between Eazy and Suge. Toker described it as almost fate, like destiny brought them there at just the right time. Death Row's crew had assumed they could overpower Eazy because they thought he was alone and vulnerable, but they were wrong. Brownside was already there, ready to ride for Eazy without hesitation. Toker said they let Eazy know straight up, "We're here, and we're ready to back you up no matter what."
We got to Ruthless. We got to Ruthless when the Death Row Ruthless beef was cracking. So they thought they were gonna overpower my boy because my boy was by himself. But you know Destiny's a motherfucker. Destiny took Toker and the Brownside clique to Ruthless.
Toker said that during one of their conversations, they told Eazy straight up, "If there's anyone you want gone, just say the word." Eazy, being the kind of guy he was, tried to brush it off. He told them, "It's not like that, man," trying to downplay the situation. But Toker wasn't having it. He looked Eazy in the eye and said, "Nah, it's exactly like that."
We told E, we rolling with you, fool. We got your back. What's cracking with this death row roof? Who you want gone? Cause we ain't f***ing around.
Toker made it clear to Eazy that if he just mentioned a name, they'd handle it, and he wasn't bluffing. Toker said they had youngins, kids who were 15 or 16 years old, that were more than ready to step up and do the job. In Toker's words, at most they'll let them out when they're 22, so you don't gotta worry about a thing. That's how serious they were.
I'm gonna send my little young juvenile torpedo so they can go ahead and do YA life. They're gonna let my boys out when they're 22 years old. Don't worry about it.
After that conversation, things between Eazy and the Mexican community became even tighter. Eazy knew he had an army behind him. Wherever he went, fancy restaurants, important meetings, or events, he'd call up Brownside and his Mexican homies to roll with him. They weren't just there for show either. These guys were ready for whatever. They were hoping to run into anyone from Death Row Records so they could make a statement and prove to Eazy that they had his back till the very end.
Everywhere he went, he called his Mexicans. He called his motherfucking brothers. Where you at? What's cracking? Swoop up over here. Come in the Lolos. He be in Beverly Hills at an expensive restaurant. 20 motherfucking Mexicans drive up. 20. Hoping we ran into somebody from that row. Hoping. Because we wanted to make a statement. But luckily, never.
And one day, they got their chance. According to Toker, Eazy was chilling at a cheesecake factory when about 7 or 8 guys claiming to be affiliated with Death Row appeared. These guys surrounded Eazy, trying to intimidate him. These dudes were trying to flex their strength, maybe thinking they'd caught him alone and vulnerable.
And it was like 7, 8 motherfuckers that claimed Death Row waiting for their cars to pull up because they were leaving the cheesecake factory. Right when my boy E walked past them, they all surrounded him. "What's up?" And they were saying the N-word on him.
But they didn't realize what they had walked into. Out of nowhere, the tables turned. Suddenly, the Death Row guys found themselves surrounded, and not just by a few people. Toker described it as feeling like they were at a Mexican soccer field. The entire place was filled with Mexican gang members who showed up to protect Eazy. These weren't random guys either. They were real gangsters, people who didn't play around.
And all of a sudden, them 7, 8 motherfuckers looked around like, we're surrounded. They thought they were at a Mexican soccer field surrounded by Mexican soccer players, but it was us. I said, "What's up, man? You motherfuckers got beef with my brother Eazy?" They were like, "Oh, damn. You motherfuckers got beef with my little brother Eazy? You got beef with me, motherfuckers." And then my little homie started coming out with the heat. They were like, "No, man, yo."
The Death Row affiliates were completely shook. The intimidation game flipped on them real quick, and they knew they were outnumbered. Without wasting any time, they scrambled out of there, jumping into their cars and speeding off like their lives depended on it. And just to send a message, Toker and the crew didn't let them leave quietly. Toker told them straight up, "In case y'all want to come back, you're more than welcome. We'll be right here waiting." This was a statement, one that made it loud and clear that Eazy-E wasn't alone, and if anyone thought they could intimidate him, they'd have to deal with the Mexican gangs of Compton. Regardless of how twisted Straight Outta Compton was in its portrayal of Eazy, his legacy still stands strong today. No amount of creative editing can erase the mark he left on hip-hop and the culture as a whole.